everybody. Hi, fifth graders, almost sixth graders going into middle school. Today what we're going to do is we're going to make some trail mix. So trail mix is the absolute perfect snack to take with you when you go camping. And honestly, it's even a great snack when you're not camping. So I'm going to show you the materials you need to make it and also the ingredients. So really there's not a lot of materials that you need. I have a cutting board, and honestly you don't even need that, but I'm going to use it just when I do the dried fruit, because sometimes dried fruit can be really big and I like it a little smaller, more snack size. So again, you might not even really need a cutting board. The only other thing that you really need as far as materials is a Ziploc bag. I actually have a reusable one, so I'm going to use that because what I like to do is put all the ingredients in and then shake it up to kind of mix it. But you could also use just like a bowl to mix everything together. And what I like about trail mix is there's kind of four main ingredients, categories, and you can just use whatever you have on hand. I didn't even go to the store to get ingredients for this. I'm just going to use like what I have. So there's a lot of different options and variations you can use, and I'm going to go through some of those options for you. First, let's start with the nuts. So in trail mix, you can use any kind of nut that you have. What I have right now is I have pecans, I have walnuts, almonds, salted peanuts to give it a little extra salt. These are actually all raw, which means they are not salted, they don't have any flavor on it. But if you like things a little more salty, you could absolutely use that as well. I would just mix in some unsalted ones too. You don't want it too salty. I also have some pistachios and some hazelnuts too. So that is kind of like the first ingredient. I always start with those because they can be a little bit on the bigger side. And the cool thing about trail mix is you don't have to measure anything. So again, the materials you need to make this is very minimal. You can put as much as you want of anything. It just depends on how much you're going to make. And also like what are your favorites. So I really like all of these, so I'm just gonna do a little bit of each. So I'm gonna start with the pecans first, and I'm just gonna throw a little bit in the bag. And I like to keep my ingredients out too. I don't put them away because I may wanna add a little bit more later to kind of get the ratio right. I'm gonna put some walnuts in because those are also, I love walnuts. Again, I'm just throwing this into a Ziploc type bag. You could also use a big mixing bowl, whatever you have is fine. Then a few almonds. Throw those in. And then I like a little bit of salt, so I'm gonna throw my some of the salted peanuts in too. Just for a little something. Okay. Love pistachios. Those are one of my favorites too. And just see how I'm just dumping it in. I'm not measuring anything. I just put however much I want because I like what I like. So I'm just gonna dump that whole bag. There wasn't too much left in there. Okay, and then I'm gonna put a few hazelnuts. Now, hazelnuts are really round, so I don't wanna do too many of those because they are kind of a little awkward to eat. You could maybe cut them in half or get them halved, but I don't really wanna waste the time. So just keeping it quick, I'll just toss a few of those in. So I don't know if you can see from here, but this is kind of what a hazelnut looks like. So they're smaller, but they're really round. Okay. So here's all the nuts, and I'm gonna close the bag a little bit, and then just shake it up. Okay. So it's nice and mixed together. okay? So that's the first category, different varieties of nuts. So the second category, again, I'm kind of making a healthier version of trail mix. Some trail mix have a lot of sugar in it or a lot of unhealthy things, so I'm trying to show you kind of a healthier version of trail mix too. The second category is seeds. So I don't have a lot of seeds right now. The only seeds that I have are pumpkin seeds. So I'm gonna put some pumpkin seeds in. Some other options for seeds would be sunflower seeds. Those are really good. I just didn't have any. So I'm just gonna add my pumpkin seeds. Again, not measuring, I'm just pouring it in my bag, however much that I want. And then I'm just gonna give it another good shake. Okay. So those are the first two categories, nuts and seeds. And then the next category is dried fruit. So this is where your sugar, the sweetness comes in, is dried fruit. So for dried fruit, what I have raisins. Actually, I have two different kinds. So I have your standard, kind of the purple color raisins from Purple Grapes. So I just had, my son had these, so I'm just gonna throw in the whole box of raisins. Again, these are the ones that look, they're from red grapes, red or purple grapes, so they have that reddish purple color to it. And they stick together a little bit. So I just used a whole box of that. If you love raisins, like add another box in, mix it again. And I also have golden raisins. So I don't know if you've ever seen those before, but golden raisins actually come from more of the greener grapes. And they tend to be a little more plump and tangier than just your standard raisins. Again, I don't know if you could see, whoop, dropping on the floor. But they are golden in color. Let me see if I can hold it up a little bit. So they're much lighter. They're much lighter than the other ones. Come from a totally different grape. And then obviously they're dried and now they're called raisins. So I'm just gonna dump a few of those in. I might dump the whole bag. I didn't have very much left, so. Again, you just use whatever you want. Okay, and then I also have apricots, dried apricots, which I'm obsessed with. They're so good. I also have some dried peaches, but they're pretty big. So I didn't want to do those because that would require a lot more cutting, and I just didn't want to feel like doing that. So let me show you what the dried apricots look like. They're really delicious. So they're about this big, and they're really good. Now you can throw these in as is. You can just throw them in your trail mix, no big deal. Any dried fruit you can just throw in. Sometimes, like when they're like this, I do like to cut them just so I can get more kind of dispersed all over. That just means like more pieces in my trail mix. So when I grab a handful, like I want more than just like, oh, this one bite. So I usually cut them in little strips like this. So what I'll do is I'll cut a few of them. I'll cut a few more up. So that's why sometimes you need a cutting board. But again, you don't have to have a cutting board. If you are going to use a knife, please ask an adult to help you or supervise, especially if you've never used one before. Do not do that on your own. So I'm pretty experienced with cooking, so but I'm still not going to look at the camera because you never know what could happen. So I'm going to look down while I'm cutting these. So I'm going to cut up some more apricots in some strips. Okay. And there's plenty of dried fruit that doesn't need cut at all. Like raisins, dried blueberries are really good to put in a trail mix. I love dried blueberries in a trail mix. You literally can just toss them right in. Unfortunately, I didn't have any of those. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those little dried cranberries. They kind of look like raisins, but they're more of a bright red. Those are really good and something you just toss right in as well. So I'm gonna put these in my bag. Okay, and shake it up. Okay, so it gets really mixed together. All right, so far we have all three categories. We have our nuts, we have seeds, we have dried fruit, and then the last category is my favorite. It's called the fun stuff. So this is where you could literally put whatever you want in it. You could continue on with like leaving it a little more on the healthier side, or if you want to throw in some unhealthy things, like that's fine too, because that's kind of what makes it really good. So what I have is I always have to add chocolate to it. So let me give you some options. There's those little Reese's Pieces bites, which are really good because it has a little bit of the peanut butter in it too. You could add M&Ms. I unfortunately didn't have any of those, but I do have some mini chocolate chips. So I do wish they were a little bigger. I don't care. I don't like mini chips in a trail mix, but it's all I have. So I'm just gonna throw them in because I still need the chocolate in there. But chocolate chips or butterscotch chips, white chocolate chips, those are all really good options. So I'm just gonna pour them in. Whoa! As you can tell, I poured more of the chocolate in than anything else. So, and I'm just gonna kind of mix that in. Okay. Now here's some other options too. So aside from like the candy and the chocolate, you could also put some pretzels in, again for something a little more salty. I didn't have any of the little pretzels. The only kind that I have are filled with peanut butter, which in my opinion is even better. So I'm gonna throw a few of those in. I'll show you what I mean, those pretzels that are filled with peanut butter. And they're small enough too, they're really good snack size. So I'm just gonna throw a few of those in as well. And those are a little bigger, so I'm gonna mix them around as best I can. Just shake it, or if you're in a bowl, you can use a spoon and stir them. Okay. And then the last thing that I'm gonna put in mine is popcorn. If you know me, you know I'm obsessed with popcorn, and it also, this is actually kind of a healthy addition as well. I just happen to have these, again, one of my son's snacks, so I'm gonna throw in one of his bags. And I'm gonna put the whole bag in. I usually make my own popcorn because these bags are never enough for me. Again, like I said, these are for my son, so it's a good size for him, but I usually eat way more popcorn than what's in this bag. I'm just gonna dump that whole thing in. And you definitely wanna mix it. Popcorn is so light that it'll always be on the top if you don't mix it in all together. So I'm just gonna mix. Okay. All right. I know it's kind of hard to see through this bag, but fold this down, and I'll give you a closer look at the finished product. So here is our trail mix. And then if you're making it in a big bag like this, you can put it in smaller snack size bags for on the go. This is, again, trail mix is such a good snack for at home, but like it's really the best for camping too. Like if you're gonna go on a hike, you can throw it in your book bag and just grab it when you need it, and then just have your water too. So this is really the perfect snack because it's a little bit salty, it's a little bit healthy, it's a little bit sweet. You have some of everything in it. So I'm going to link a recipe, and it's not even a true recipe, it's just options that you can do. Again, as you can see, I didn't measure anything. You just put as much as what you want and the things that you like. So, and that is how to make some trail mix. I'll see you guys later.